All right, so get ready because today we were going deep into Jack London's The Call of the Wild.
Ooh, exciting.
It is, right. And, we've got excerpts and summaries and even some really cool in-depth analysis that you guys have sent us.
Really gets us beyond just the story.
Exactly. So for
Yeah.
those of you learners out there, get ready because this is going to be good. I mean, this book, it's not just a dog story.
It's so much more than that.
Right. It gets into all those like primal forces hiding under the surface, and not just in dogs, but like in us too.
What always gets me about The Call to Wild is how fast it just pulls you into this world.
It's brutal, but
They're beautiful too.
it really is. And it's the Yukon during the gold rush. So
Yeah, you're talking about a time and a place where survival was the only thing that mattered.
absolutely. And get this. Our main character, Buck, is living this perfect life in California.
Total opposite.
140 pounds of pure spoiled bliss, part St. Bernard, part Scotch Collie.
Wow.
The ruler of Judge Miller's estate, basically, until, bam, he's kidnapped.
Yep.
Yeah. Stolen, beaten, thrown in a crate, shipped north to be a sled dog. Talk about a reality check.
It's violent, for
Yeah.
sure. Like jarring shift from civilization to just raw nature.
Exactly.
It makes you think, like, what is London trying to say here? It's like civilization makes us soft.
Yeah.
Makes us weak to all those instincts we're trying to hide.
Such a good question. And it gets even more intense when Buck gets to the Yukon, right? Like he's landed on a different planet.
Doesn't even know it hit him.
Remember the man in the red sweater?
Oh, yeah.
That guy just beats Buck with a club until he gives in.
It's rough.
So brutal. It makes you wonder, are all humans like this out in the wild? Like, is that who we really are when the rules are gone?
Well, you got to think about what was going on back then, right? The Klondike Gold Rush, I mean, that was chaos.
Oh, for sure.
Lawless, everyone was just desperate, greedy. Not exactly the best place to find compassion.
Nope. And then there's poor Curly, who's just trying to be friendly, and bam, she's ripped apart. It's like London's showing us that out here, being nice, it can get you killed.
Yeah. It's all about being the strongest.
Survival of the fittest.
Yeah, that's where that whole law of club and fang comes in.
Oh, right.
It's the code, the only code that matters in this world. Strength and power, that's all you've got.
Which is so different from Buck's old life, where it was all about, like, your social status and how big your house was.
Totally.
In the Yukon, it's who can fight, who can handle it, who can just, like, take charge.
And Buck, even though he was all pampered before, he starts to get it.
Yeah.
He's watching the other dogs, like Dave and Solex, the tough ones, and he's figuring out the hierarchy, how everything works.
He has to learn fast, though, because he's got Spitz to deal with.
Oh.
Right? The lead dog, top dog of the whole team. You can just feel that tension between them, like it's gonna explode.
It's got to come to a head at some point.
And it does in that crazy fight scene.
Well, yeah.
But it's more than just a fight, It's like this symbol of Buck changing, becoming wild. Like, is this just him learning to be tougher, or is it deeper than that? Is he tapping into something that was always there? Is he becoming a different dog altogether? I mean, that fight with Spitz, it's like a turning point for him, He's not just some dog learning new tricks anymore. It's like he's turning into something else, something wilder, fiercer. Even it makes you wonder, like, what's London saying about us humans here? Do we all have that wildness inside us, just waiting to come out?
That's the question, isn't it? It's why this book is still so powerful after all this time. I think London's suggesting that, yeah, even if we're all civilized, there's still that wild part down there, deep down. A connection to, like, our animal past. We can't ever really get rid of it.
It's true. Think about Buck, right? Goes from napping on fancy rugs to fighting just to stay alive. He has to change, has to embrace that wildness, or he's done for. It's like every time he uses his teeth, every mile he runs in the snow, he's shedding a little more of that civilized life.
And what's interesting is London doesn't pretend it's all romantic, The Yukon, sure, it's beautiful, but brutal too. People are hungry, freezing, there's death all around. Only the strong make it. It's a world where if you're weak, well, someone's going to use that against you.
It's like a constant reminder that nature doesn't care, Doesn't care about your family history or how much money you have. It's all about survival of the fittest. If you can't handle it, you're gone.
And that brings us to another big idea, right? This primal code, like a set of rules that runs the natural world. It's not about good and bad or right and wrong. It's just instinct, pure instinct, that drive to survive, to have kids, to be in charge. Think about the sled dogs even. There's always a leader, and there's always someone trying to take that spot. It's like a mini version of how power works everywhere in all of nature.
So it's like London saying, hey, we humans, with all our laws and rules, we're still part of that natural order. We might try to pretend we're different, but deep down we're driven by the same things.
And Buck's journey, it makes us face that truth, even if we don't want to. He's always being pushed to his limits, physically and mentally. He has to make hard choices, even brutal choices sometimes, just to live.
And London uses all these symbols to drive those points home too, like the club and the fang. What do you think about
Oh,
those?
they're not just objects, right? They represent the two forces shaping Buck's world.
Right, like which side is he going to choose?
Exactly. The club, that's human power control, forcing others to do what you want. But the fang, that's wildness, instinct, that raw power Buck has inside him.
And Buck's caught between those two the whole time. He has to learn how to handle both, like submit to the club when he has to, but use the fang when he needs to survive.
And then there's that call of the wild, It's almost like a mystical thing, drawing Buck further and further into the wilderness.
It is. It's like a call to be free, to escape all the rules and just be who he really is. When I was reading those parts where Buck's out in the woods, running with wolves in his dreams, I felt this weird, longing, almost like I was hearing that call myself. Ever feel that? Like there's this part of you that wants something more, something wilder, something beyond just everyday life.
That's what's so great about London, though.
Mm.
He gets at something inside us, something deep. We all feel it. And he makes us wonder, are we really happy with our normal lives? Or is there a part of us that wants that freedom, that wildness?
It really makes you think. And then you've got Buck's relationship with John Thornton, which just adds another layer to it all. Here's this guy who represents the best of humanity, right? Kindness, real love for Buck. It's more than just a human and a pet.
He's like this bright light in all the darkness, showing that even in the worst places, there's still room for love and care.
And their bond is so strong. Buck would do anything for him. I mean, he saves his life, protects him from attacks, even pulls that crazy heavy sled just to win a bet for Thornton. It's amazing. You really feel how deep their connection is.
But there's this sad side to it, too. Because even though Buck is happy with Thornton, he's still being pulled towards the wild. He's spending more and more time in the forest, hunting, exploring, just listening to that call inside him. It's like he's being pulled in two opposite directions.
Yeah, and that's where it really gets to you, right? Because Buck can't stay with Thornton forever. He's meant for something else, something wilder, something beyond being someone's companion. And it's like Thornton was showing Buck what life could be like. A life with love and loyalty. But it's over too quickly. That pull to the wild, it just takes over. And then, well, you know what happens next.
Yeah, Thornton's death, that's the moment everything changes for Buck. It's like he's been trying to live in both worlds, but now he's pushed all the way to one side, to that pure instinct.
And it's interesting how London writes about those other owners, Hal and Charles and Mercedes, like they're the opposite of Thornton in every way.
Totally. They're like, look what happens when humans think they can control nature. They're clueless, arrogant, no respect for how powerful the wild really is.
And it blows up in their faces, right?
Big time. They try to force nature to do what they want, and it just doesn't work.
London's basically saying, hey, you can't force human rules onto a world that has its own completely different rules. It's gonna go bad.
Yeah, it's a disaster waiting to happen.
And Buck sees it all. He sees how cruel they are, how stupid their decisions are. It just makes him tougher. It's like they're stripping away the last bits of his old life, making him face the truth about surviving in the wild.
Yeah, in a way, they're getting him ready for what's next.
Because when Thornton's gone, Buck's all alone. The one human who was good to him, he's gone. And Buck is just filled with rage. He wants revenge. Like all that frustration, all that pain, it explodes when he attacks the Yee-Hats.
That scene is intense, right? It's like he's breaking free from everything he's been through before. It's not even just about protecting himself or staying alive. It's revenge. It's like a level of violence we haven't seen from him yet.
And that leads him to the wolf pack. But it's not like some happy ending, where they welcome him with open arms. This is a real wolf pack, wild, all instinct. They're like the ultimate call of the wild right there in front of him.
Exactly. And they're not evil, but they're not going to be all sweet about it either. It's survival of the fittest. They challenge him, test him. He has to prove he can hang with them.
And he does, right. He fights their leader, beats him. It's not just about strength. It's about being smart, too. And then he's the leader. It's like his whole journey has led to this, from a spoiled house pet to a legend of the wild.
And that ending, it leaves you thinking, doesn't it? Is Buck really happy now? Has he found where he belongs? Or is he stuck between those two worlds, the civilized one and the wild one?
It makes you think about those times when we hear a call, too, like when we want to break free from all the rules and just be ourselves, be more real, more wild.
And that's what makes the call of the wild so great. It's a story that stays with you because it's about something we all feel. That need for freedom, that connection to nature, that feeling that we're part of something bigger.
So if you liked this deep dive, go read the whole book. It's short, but it's powerful. It'll stick with you, I promise.
And until next time, keep exploring, keep asking questions, and keep listening to what's calling you, even if you don't know where it'll lead.